Congress should be a brief civic duty, not a career. As a career, a seat in Congress becomes a conflict of interest. An incumbent who is determined to seek re-election cannot freely vote his conscience or his principles, for fear that he's going to offend some slice of the electorate and therefore reduce his chances of re-election. Obviously, one way to correct this problem is to reduce or eliminate the option for re-election. In other words, establish either a 1 or 2 term limit on all offices in government. Then re-election ceases to be a factor in government. In all the blather among the pundits, editorialists, and bloggers about the reasons for the Democratic sweep in 2006, nowhere does anyone address the most obvious reason: that the bulk of the failings of our American electoral system arise out of a trend toward careerism and tenure in the body politic, particularly in Congress. No one has stood up and yelled, "It's about re-election, stupid, not issues." No one seems to recognize that in their desperate struggle to hold on to their extremely cushy jobs, career politicians will vote not on principle or merit, but on what will improve their re-election odds. Those that do it successfully go on to lifelong tenure. For example, Byrd, Kennedy, Stevens, Domenici, et al. Those who try to hold to principle and integrity invariably serve very short terms. In other words, if your chief concern is re-election rather than what is best for the country, you reap the rewards of long tenure. Is this any way to run a country? The fundamental reason we need congressional term limits is simply that Congress is no longer doing its job. Instead, it's working very hard at keeping its job. Of the many hot issues actually debated by Congress and passed, most have been so chewed up, amended, and emasculated that they are often not worth the paper they're written on. Why? Because Congress will do anything it can, to avoid making clear-cut decisions to get good legislation in order not to offend or lose the voters they need for re-election. Some people would say that that's the way a democracy works, and to some degree that's true. However, I take issue with that superficial way of looking at how things are actually working out. Rather, I believe that what we are seeing is the result of the emergence of a congressional class which is overwhelmingly committed to re-election first, all other considerations, especially good governance, last. This is true on both sides of the aisle. The best evidence of this is the fact that in 2 recent elections, 2002 and 2004, House congressional incumbents won re-election at a 99% rate. Before 50 years ago, that rate was about 50 or 60%. Do you really believe that 99% of incumbents deserved re-election in 2 successive elections? The 94 and 06 elections, when Congress sharply changed hands, was merely a bump in the road, were merely bumps in the road. Things have not changed. A great majority of the really long-termers survived. They always will, thanks to gerrymandered districts, name recognition, special interest money, and other incumbent advantages. We still have a virtually permanent Congress. It's time for congressional term limits. In fact, it's past time.